Okay, so you guys are going to be doing some research this week. It will take the full week's worth of hours, it'll be at least 3 hours. So, um, this research paper will not be due until next week. So, you have the full week this week to try and get through it. The main thing with doing research when you're in science is citing references. So, I just want to quickly go through the process, and then you're going to have a series of questions. You can answer them each individually. The research will not be easy. The questions deal with some pretty tough concepts in genetics. And so when you're looking for sources, you're going to just get rid of a lot of sources you find, just because the complexity of the research you're doing, and it just could be too detailed for you to even get your head around. So the one thing I want to stress mostly when you're doing this research is you are going to make sure you only write down concepts you understand. Okay, so citing references in research papers. You have to, when you're doing research for science, is acknowledge the source anytime and every time you use a fact or idea obtained from that source. Okay, now the issue is here, every idea that you write down, every concept you write down, is going to be from someone else's knowledge, not your own. That's what research papers are about. You're really not going to have any idea or input in the actual research here. So you literally are going to be citing just about everything you write, which really feels weird the first time you do it, because it just does. It just feels weird. So my recommendation to you is that what you're going to do is you're going to find, to answer a specific question, you're going to go do the research. You're going to cut and paste information about that specific topic onto another sheet of paper, taking very careful, just being careful to make sure you get the journal article and everything that it came from. And then you're going to go through all the information that you cut and pasted out, and you're going to summarize it, reword it, shorten it. And that will be the answer to your question. You've got to make sure you reword it. If you don't understand what the thing says, so you cannot reword it, do not include it. Okay? You cannot just cut and paste a research paper. First of all, it's really obvious because we know you wouldn't be able to state what you just wrote, because you really don't have the knowledge to do that. So you have to try and understand the concepts, rewrite them in your own words, and then cite the source you got the idea from. Okay, I can't stress that enough. Don't write it if you don't understand it. Okay, look for a simpler explanation from another source. Okay, but do make sure you reword it. And when you upload it, it will be going into turnitin.com. So like I can find Turnitin lets me find the source you got it from easily, so I can, it's so obvious if it's cut and paste. So don't cut and paste. You're going to cut and paste the information, then you're going to reword it, and then you're going to cite it. Okay, so when you're citing, you're going to, let's see, there's some simpler ways to cite. Some citing is, oh yeah, here is easier than others. The most common way people cite, so you're going to write an idea down. And when you're done, even though you've changed the wording, you didn't come up with the concept, so you have to cite the source. This is the easiest one, I find, and the one that works most fluidly, I would say. Mention the author by last name in the sentence and then give the year of publication. Oh, no, that's the wrong one. Let's undo that. I don't want that. That's the wrong one. Okay, nice. Okay, get rid of that. This is the one. I don't like it. You can use that one every once in a while. According to Rogers, bracket 1983, blah, blah, blah. But when you use it constantly, it sounds silly. Like, like every other sentence you're doing, according to so and so, it doesn't sound right, okay? That's not the best one. This is the best one. Oh my God. Okay, here we go. Give the facts or ideas mentioned by the author and then attribute these facts by putting both his or her last name and the date in parentheses. So this is the one that's used most often, okay? So you state your facts, your sentences, your ideas, your concepts. The first of the 3 events occurred, blah, blah, blah. And then at the end, you just put the name of the author and the date. Boom, done. And so it's going to feel like you're doing that with just about every sentence. One thing I can tell you is if you're taking multiple ideas from the same author, so you're writing like a whole paragraph of information from one author, you don't have to cite them after every sentence as long as the idea is not changing. You just cite them after the multiple sentences. But if you're doing multiple ideas from the same author, like different paragraphs, you're explaining different concepts, you do have to cite them after every different idea. So that's one way you can cut down on the number of times you are citing, is if it's the same idea you're talking about, just cite them after the whole concept has been summarized. Okay, so that is basically what and it's going to feel weird. You're going to be writing things and you're going to be putting brackets and writing things, it feels odd. But that's called a research paper. And I want you to have experience doing this before you get into university, or college, so that you know what you're doing, so that it's the citing is the easy part, because really the research tends to be the hardest. So the citing should come pretty easy for you if you've had a little practice with it. So when you're done all your whole paper, you've answered all the questions, what you're going to do is you get references. And the references are just all the journals, and use APA is fine, and you can use Citation Machine. It makes life easier. So APA style for your references. And one last thing, if you are using a source that does not have a date or a name, an author's name, which is pretty rare for the type of research you're going to be doing. I mean, if you're doing something fluffy like researching diets or something, you're going to get all kinds of sources that have no name and no date. But when you're researching harder topics like what you're going to be researching, then you tend to get more professional journals. But you may find sometimes you end up with no author or no date is not listed. So in that case, you just provide the URL at the end of the idea for internet sources. So all you're going to do is you're going to write the idea and then just provide the URL. So it looks like this. Okay, so and it can be at the end of this sentence in the middle, but you just provide the URL, and then you don't include anything in your references, because if I want to check, all I have to do is click on the URL. So all the information I need is in the URL. So you provide the URL at the end of the idea, and boom, you're done. There's no carryover into the references. The references are when you have the date and the name. So I think that is it. If you have questions, just email me and I'll get back to you. It's going to be challenging. A lot of people ask me, well, how long does this have to be? It usually ends up being, quite 3-4 pages to get the right amount of information. You need to answer the question well, and that takes quite a bit of research and information. So I would say use 3 sources per question, and you should be on the right track then. And again, just email me if you have any questions.